And that's because to empathically connect with the pet, they're affecting the same faces. And the pet is doing the same, because we're programmed that way. We're attracted to people. I put this one up for a joke. I put it up for a joke. But we're attracted to people who are kind of like us. And when you spend long enough together, you start to look alike. The way you stand, the way you position yourself to smile, etc. That happens over time, and you see it. You say, isn't it amazing how many people in this world choose people who look just like them? They didn't. They learned to look like them. So that's the mimicking. We're nearly finished the building blocks. Now, here are the two most important communication instruments you have. These, seriously, without doubt, forget anything else. These are the two instruments, your hands, particularly the palms, that communicate more to people around you than anything else. And whether they're open on display, or they're hidden away, or they're closed. I mean, you don't have to be a genius if somebody says, can you help me with this? Yeah, no problem. You don't have to know much about body language, no. How did you feel about that? No, it was absolutely fine. You don't have to be a body language expert. They are really important. Let me give you an example. Imagine this was a bigger audience, and I wanted to reorganize the room. And I said, hey, all the people over here, yeah, you people, I want you to come over here. Okay? I want you people, I want you coming over here, and all of you down the back, I want you coming here. Okay? Now, look at the difference between that message and when I say, hey, can I get the people over here to come over this side, and the people over here to come over this side, and you people down the back, could you come up the front? When I do it this way, when I'm using my closed hand, it's more directive. It's more, I'm the boss. What about this one? You lot over here. I want you over here. I want you lot over here. And you lot, I want up the front. What does that feel like?
Even worse.
It is really bad. It feels like a policeman. You up here, school teacher. Hey, you, up the top. The research shows that when you present to a group, if you keep your palms open to them, they will, let me go the other way. If you hide your palms, either with your pockets or in your, against your chest, and don't let them see them frequently enough, the audience remembers 40% less than when you're open. Okay? When you use finger pointing, they remember 60% less. Research, simple. The reason I wanted you to stand up and open as well is because when you're closed, you're also less likely to recall what's said to you. So when I start off to speak to somebody, I try as much as possible to get them as open as possible. Because when you cross your arms, you retain less of what you're learning and what you're hearing. So palms are tremendously important. But they're important as well because they communicate our intention. You see chimps. And chimps are pretty fierce animals. They're cute. But they can take your arm out, just as quick as look at you. And when a submissive one, when one wants to join a group, they have to make themselves as unthreatening as possible. So they make themselves as small as possible, and they hold their hand out like that. And the hand is held out to say, look, there's nothing in it. I'm no threat to you. Here. And they make no eye contact. And they put on, in fact, as well, I'll talk about it in a short while, they also put on, their version of a smile. I'll talk about specifically what that is in a moment. But we are still very much like them. When we want to communicate to people that we're not a threat, we offer an open palm. What's the first thing we do when we meet? Hi, it's great to see you. We offer the open palm. It sends a subconscious signal to people. So the bottom line is, when you want to create an impression that I'm the boss, I'm the dominant, I'm in charge, keep the palms away and down. He is very specifically saying, I'm the man. I look like Mussolini in this one. I'm in charge. Now, here's the classic, I guess they call it Gallic shrug. Oh, I don't know, I'm no threat to you. And there are some people who should really, really be careful of the way they use their palms, because the palms have for a long time, a very, very negative power connotation. Right back to the Romans. And when Merkel did this by accident, she, you may recall, was slated. Right back to the Romans. This was a reflection of dominance, of power, of aggression. If you've ever seen the Iranian army, did you ever see the Iranian army salute? That's the way they salute. That is a very decided message. Unless you want to communicate that dominant message, you keep them open. Hey, it's okay, I'm not armed, I'm coming out, I'm no threat to you. That's why we do that. Same here. Hey, everything's cool, it's okay. So remember your palms, and when you speak to people, finger point, love this. Now, do you need any language here? You don't need. And even if I didn't show you the expressions on their faces, even if all I showed you were the fingers, you would know instinctively this is a hot situation. But of course, you've got two guys there who are really, really capable of showing that heat on their faces. So, interesting. Even though that's an obvious one and you're like that, and the look on Sarkozy's face goes very much with the signal. You see that look on people's faces when they're not doing that. When they're sitting in an audience and they're just saying, no, this is garbage, I can't. You can see that impression leak out through them. So anyway, the figures. Finally, the problem with we as humans is we stereotype everybody. That's what we do. We put people into boxes. In the movies, we create every film as a box full of stereotypes, because it allows us, in 90 minutes, to tell a story that might stretch over years. It helps us establish the characters. For example, take the Western movies. There are always 5, well, I'll talk about number 6, there are often 6, but always 5 characters in every Western movie. And they appear in pretty much every other movie. The good guy, right? Tell me something about the good guy. Anything. Just tell me, typical good guy in a Western movie. What's he like?
Hands down.
He's handsome, yeah.
Honest.
Honest.
Protecting others.
Protecting others. What does he look like?
Brave.
He's tall. He's always clean shaven. Okay. In the old movies, he wore a white hat, so there was no difficulty. You go back to John with white hat, and the paler clothes were for the good guys. Then there's the bad guy. Black hat. Probably has a little Sabata mustache. Tends to be a little less handsome, maybe scarred. And then there's the banker. Here's good news for the people with glasses in the room. Look at the movies. The bankers always have glasses. You know why? Because the research forever has shown that people automatically, when they see people, particularly with thicker rimmed glasses, they assume that they have greater intelligence than people with no glasses. So the banker in these things, and anybody in that sort of formal position, always has glasses on them. And of course, if you want to be sure, you give them a waistcoat. Once you've got a waistcoat, you know you're home. The sheriff is another one. And then of course, the one that's easiest to spot always is the town drunk. Is always there. And here's the point. The reason that they have those stereotypes in the movie is you don't have to say, this is a good guy and he's a good guy because as soon as you see him clean cut, white hat, no facial hair, etc., you know he's the good guy. It makes it easier to tell the story. Well, here's what we do. We meet people, and in the first 4 minutes, we decide are they the good guy, the bad guy, the sheriff, the drunk, etc. We decide, we make an initial decision about people in the first 4 minutes, and unless they do something to change that impression that we get, that's the impression we're left with. My mother used to tell me, first impressions last. Make a good first impression. You make a bad first impression, you have to work very hard to unpick that. So what I'm going to talk about, building those blocks together, first off, is what do you do in the first 4 minutes when you meet somebody? So how do you make sure, and I think particularly in professional situations, how do you make sure that the first 4 minutes that people experience of you is as strong as it can, gives you the best possible positive stereotype? Let's say it makes you the good guy. Okay? First thing that people judge. When people see you standing with good posture, the research says they assume you're younger, more virile, more confident, and more energetic than if you stand like that. Automatic. It's just a judgment that people make. And you can see somebody's posture from 200, 300 meters away. If they're walking like that, people automatically assume that, now, by the way, notwithstanding that they might have a physical issue that stoops them over like that, people automatically make a judgment. They say, oh, he's tired, or he's beaten, or he's losing, or he's depressed, or he's lacking in confidence. Now, if that's the determination that people make, you have to make an effort to change that. So, what they trained me when I used to do a lot of ballroom dancing, and they used to train me to fix the posture, they get you to stand against the wall like that. Do you remember that in school? Maybe you don't, but they used to get you like that. And they'd say, and then step away from the wall. Nobody can walk like that. It's like, you know, bloody robot. It's so uncomfortable. And that's the way they used to teach us kids to do it. Well, when we were writing the book, we spoke with a model, a coach who trained fashion models. And she said, no. She said, here's the easiest way to fix your posture before you walk onto a stage, okay? Before you walk into a room. And that is, imagine that there's a rope tied to your navel, and it's pulling you forward. So the rope is pulling, and so you're being led by the navel. That means that, in fact, your midsection actually travels ahead of your feet slightly. It's impossible if you're being pulled by that rope to walk that way. And when you need to make an entrance, when you're walking into a room, or particularly walking in to make a presentation, if you get that in your mind, I won't get you to do it now, but try it afterwards. You get that in your mind, you think, somebody is pulling me by a rope there. You automatically straighten up. And you don't go like that. It's a more natural, straight posture. Some people say, there's a song, English song from an old musical, maybe you know it, and it says, the moment you walked in the joint, I could tell you were a man of distinction, a real big spender. And that was the old song. And posture is the only impression you can make in that moment that you walk into the joint. So that's the first step. Now, the second thing that we look for when we see people automatically is we look for the smile. Now, I described this earlier. I said you saw on the guy, and he's trying to appeal. And that actually is the way, what we call a smile, is the way chimps express fear. It's kind of, So when he's approaching the dominant guy, he's saying, I'm afraid of you. If I'm afraid of you, how could I be a threat? And there's nothing in my hand, and I'm pretty small, and I'm really weak and ineffectual, and so on. And our smile developed from that. It means much more to us than it does to chimps. But we still instinctively look when somebody walks in the room, and they say, the research says you can see it from about 100 meters away. So from about 300 feet away, you can tell is somebody smiling or not. So the first thing you see is the posture, and the second thing you see is, are they smiling or are they giving up? They're looking for that. And when you see the smile, you mimic the smile. They're 100 meters away, but part of you goes, and it feels good. And so it has a positive impression. So if you're walking in somewhere, however nervous you might feel, you've got to fake it. First you get straight, and then you put the smile on. Now, let me do so that I get some air into your lungs, and I uncross some of your arms and things like that. Let me do something. I'm going to get you, I'm going to make you A's and B's. So you're an A, Julia. B, A, B, A, B. A, okay, so call off B.
A.
B. A.
B?
A.
B. B. A.
Were you an A?
Yes.
Yep, you're a B.
A.
B. A.
B.
A. B.
A.
B. A.
Oh my God, I hate this. Okay, now, what I want you to do is, can all of the A's stand up? Okay. Now, I want you to find a B and pair with that B. Stand beside a B. So go and find a B. It's probably one directly in front of you. And just make sure that an A is standing with a B. And now the B's, once an A has approached you, you can stand up and just stand there and wait for the instructions. Okay? So everybody stand up, and you've got pairs of A's and B's. Don't worry. It won't hurt. You don't have it. Have we got a spare A or a spare B? Great. Now, A's. In a moment I'll give instructions to B's. But for now, A's, I want you to pretend that you're actors. You're like the actor that I mentioned earlier on, who's learning the Stanislavski method. All I want you to do is think of the last time when you felt so happy or so full of enjoyment that you really had to smile. And it might have been your kid came running into the room and said something inappropriate, and you just went, oh my God. And or somebody told you a great joke, and it just so. Think of the last time when you really, really cracked a smile. Okay, so that's all you have to do for now. Okay, just think about that for a moment. Now, B's, in a moment, I'm going to have your A turn and face you. No matter what I do after that, no matter what they do after that, I want you to do nothing. Straight face, no movement, nothing whatsoever. I want you completely unreactive. Okay? Now, A's, get your smile ready, turn to face your B, and turn on that smile full beam. So give it the full deal in front of your B. Now, you see that? You see how long that took? You can sit down. That's perfect. Every culture, every room, anywhere in the world. It's the same. It's the same. You know why? It's involuntary. Somebody smiles at you, and you just have to smile back. And when you smile back, you actually feel good about it. And the tenor of the room rises. So when you walk into a room, if you want to have the maximum impact on them, even if you're scared for your life, you need to reach down and find that occasion when you felt happy and paste it on your face and do what the Americans call fake it until you make it. You put it on your face, you will start to feel better, but the people around you will mirror it. They won't know why, but they'll feel there's greater rapport going on with you than with the previous speaker. Okay, so we've already talked about mimicking. Just an incidental piece so you can spot genuine smiles. Okay? There are two signs to look for. And here's why you want to know what a genuine smile looks like. Because a genuine smile can only come from genuine enjoyment that's triggered by the brain. Okay? Because we can't, I think it's called a zygomaticus major or something. Anybody medical here? Well, that doesn't matter. It's definitely called the zygomaticus major. Nobody can contradict me, but it's something like that. But you don't have conscious control over that muscle. You do over this one, which I think is called rictorius or something like that. So when somebody says something to you, and you feel that you should smile. Oh, that was a great presentation that McCann gave. Yeah. And you give it one of these. When somebody is giving you a genuine smile, you know that whatever has just happened or whatever you said has genuinely touched them and made them feel genuine pleasure. If they're agreeing with a point, you know they're genuinely agreeing with a point. The fact that they don't have it on doesn't mean they're not, but if they do have it on, they do. It means they are genuinely feeling pleasure. This guy, Duchenne, took this guy who could feel no pain in his face whatsoever, and he mapped out all of the muscles and the way they displayed different emotions by running currents of electricity through the guy's face to trigger the actions of the muscles. And for that reason, the genuine smile, which is characterized by two things, is called the Duchenne smile. And it's characterized by two things. You can't see it so clearly in this lady, in this picture. One is the eyes are more slit. And you particularly see the laughter lines, if you want to call it there. And the second thing is the forehead is smooth. Because when somebody tries to make themselves look like they're really, really smiling, because they can't control it for real, they pull all other different muscles and the forehead goes like that. Now, it's only useful because, as I say, when you're communicating with somebody, if you see a genuine smile on the face, you know something has touched them, something has gotten inside their heads. Other research, just really, really quickly, besides all of the above, besides communication benefits, it actually also raises your mood, we've said that, boosts your immune system, reduces your blood pressure, increases your self-confidence, makes you younger looking, okay? And because people mimic, makes you, it induces, if you like, those benefits into others around you. It's only a smile, but it's amazing. And you know what? A social smile is better than no smile. You can't make the genuine smile unless you tune into an emotional experience that really touched you. So it's worth working on your smile. Now, you walked into a room, you've got a great posture, you're walking really well, you're smiling on your face and people are smiling back, and as they get closer to you, the next thing they look for is your eyes. And whether it's right or wrong, people tend not to trust people who don't make eye contact. So your father, when he wanted to know if you were telling the truth, said, look me in the eye and tell me that. So here, come on, tell me that again. Now, there is a myth that liars don't make the same amount of eye contact as non-liars. The reality is, clever liars know that myth, so they tend to make more eye contact than a regular. So the fact that somebody is avoiding your eyes doesn't mean they're lying. You know, somebody asks a question, they look down, you ask somebody a question, they look down. It doesn't mean they're lying. But from your perspective, if you want to project an image of trustworthiness and honesty, you need to be aware that some people will read it that way, and it means you have to make eye contact. So forget about reading other people. That's more difficult. Be prepared for the fact that people will read you. Now, when you tell people who are less sociable or more introverted to make eye contact, and you try to train them to make eye contact, you go sometimes from they won't make eye contact at all to they give you the full beams like that. And that feels like you're being stalked. It feels like he's going to kill me. And you know, somebody has told somebody to make eye contact today. Yeah, yeah. And what do you say next? Yeah. It's horrible. It's really horrible. Here's a comfortable way of doing it so people feel there are 3 different gazes that work really well. This is social. This is just, I just want you to hear what I'm saying, and I want you to be aware that I'm making eye contact. And it's like windscreen wipers almost. You look at the left eye, and for a few seconds you look at the right eye, you look down to the mouth, you look back up to the left eye, you look to the right eye, and because you can't help smiling, can you? And in that motion, which feels unnatural to you, there is an impression just of eye contact, gentle eye contact, that's not like that. Now, if you want to make the impression that a little bit more of this, I'm serious about this type of impression, well then turn the triangle upside down and just go from left to right and up to the forehead. And that feels like, it feels like I'm really giving you a serious stare without giving you one of those. Now here's the one the men get in trouble with. This is called the intimate gaze. With somebody, not necessarily sexually intimate, but just we're friendly and close with, we tend to have a gaze that extends beyond just that normal gaze. It's okay. So you appraise when you meet your friends, you tend to appraise them more up and down, and they call it the intimate gaze. This is not a problem for women, because genetically, and this is not a judgment, this is just pure genetic, physical fact, physiological fact, women have much better peripheral vision than males. We've very good telescopic sort of vision. Look at that over there. And some of the experts suggest that it comes from the time back when the men were doing the hunting and say, there's a rabbit running at 200 miles an hour and I need to be able to spear him. And so he needed to be able to cut everything else out. Whereas the wife was responsible for protecting the lair and the family, and so she needed to be able to look all around her and so on. It doesn't matter. A woman can appraise you from top to tail and you don't even see it happen. Men can only see what's in front of them. So what does a man do when he wants to give somebody an intimate gaze? You've seen it, women, haven't you? He goes. You better be sure that the person that you're appraising in that way is intimate with you, because the women see it every single time. Right? So, an interesting thing, they give you the up and the down like that. So be aware of it. But you will see that. You'll see that with people. In my house, this happens. It happens in the majority of people's houses. I'll be looking for something like my car keys. And Maria will say, they're in the drawer. And I go over and I search the drawer, they're not there. And she goes over and she puts her hand in and she picks them out immediately, right? Universal experience. Why is that? Because I can only look in one place at a time. She goes over and she sees a whole drawer right away and she goes straight to it. And you just say, but I did look, honey. And it's a universal experience. It comes down to this. But for eye contact, just if you want to be trusted, you need to make it. People will judge you if you don't. It's critical to trust. Now, it doesn't really matter whether there is a direct correlation between eye contact and trust. That doesn't matter. All that matters is the majority of people think there is. And if you avoid their eyes, they will assume there's something in it. So when you're kidding and you say, did you take that apple, or did you take X, Y, Z, and they go, no, 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 well then you tend to suspect them. So be aware of it. Be careful of the full beams, the full headlight sort of look. 3 to 5 maximum and then reset. Now, don't the eyes communicate very well? I mean, besides the point of finger, you don't need words for this. This guy, what's his name? He's the most famous referee. Again? Pierluigi Collina. I'm not a soccer fan, as you can tell, but one of the reputed, I think, to be the best FIFA referee ever. Is that what they pretty much? Okay. The first time that your mother touched you, she got a rush into her system of a hormone called oxytocin that made her go, ah, and made her bond with you. And the first time you touched her, she got that. First time she touched you, you got that. And that's what creates that famous mother-baby bond. Well, oxytocin doesn't go away because you become an adult. When people touch you, it causes a release of oxytocin into your system. And oxytocin encourages you to bond, to become more friendly, and in extreme situations, to fall in love with people. So when you've just met somebody for the first time, and you know when a relationship is just new, there's a lot of all this. And the older relationships are saying, oh, will he not keep his hands to himself? Oh God, can she not keep her hand? And it's all because when it's all new, there's this oxytocin, everybody's and it's what encourages that sense of intimacy, what encourages that sense of I like this person, I love this person, etc. Now, we touch people in business. We touch people in business all the time as a natural consequence of doing business. First thing we do is we shake hands with them. And it comes, by the way, goes an awful lot longer back, but if I could use you for a moment, do you mind? Yeah. I promise I won't do it like that. The Romans used to shake hands like that. And they shook hands like that just simply so that they could show, thank you very much, that there was nothing in the hand. It was two leaders, two chieftains met to maybe discuss a peace treaty, and that was to say, I have nothing in my hand. And it has developed on to the modern handshake we have today. And we make ridiculous judgments about people on the basis of some aspects of their handshake. Let me show you, with someone's help,